Hello everybody, it's Mike here at Game From Scratch, and I've got an update on this morning's story. Wow, what a day to be a Unity developer, or a developer in general. It's been an interesting day on Twitter, let me just say that. But basically, if you're following this morning, what happened is Improbable announced that Spatial OS, their cloud-based networking solution for games, was no longer compatible with Unity. So if you're a Unity developer using Spatial OS, you are now out of luck because Unity updated their terms of service that made Spatial OS for Unity no longer a viable product. Now, if you happen to use Spatial OS with CryEngine or Unreal Engine or an open source engine, you were completely fine. But basically, Unity forbids Spatial OS applications from running. And some of the original developers for Spatial OS games kind of put out notices that, their game multiplayer portions were potentially coming down. They had to bring their servers down. And then the responses came back about, no, well, we're not down and we don't know what's going on. So we've been waiting all day for Unity's response. And I had said this right up front this morning, and I'm glad I did, so I don't have any egg on my face here. But what I said was, we're hearing one half of the story. This was Improbable, and that's the name of the company, not my bias or opinion on their side of things, their side of the story, not Unity's. And Unity took a real long time to respond to this, which was kind of stupid on their behalf, because they took a kicking in the public relations side of things. And you've had people, so here are some of the developers that were just confused about what was going on, like, our servers are coming down. No, our servers are fine, and we don't know what the hell is going on. And then you even have Tim Sweeney coming out basically saying, this is insane, and we would never do this with Unreal Engine. You also had that from the Godot development team, and various other different open source proponents have come out and said, this is why you choose open source. This closed source crap, this changing of the EULA stuff, this is why you don't go with a closed system. So everybody kind of got a good kick at Unity over this, and to a certain degree, rightfully so. Even with Unity's rebuttal, a lot of what we said is still quite valid as a reason not to choose Unity as your environment. Unity does get a black eye from this one, no matter how you look at it. But they have come forward with their side of the story, and it is very different from what Improbable had to say. So this is up on the Unity blog right now, and it's directly in response to Improbable publishing their blog. But their side of the story is very, very, very different. What they're basically saying is that, okay, so we'll hunt down to here. There's this quote a bit, but I'm going to pick out the key highlights here. We're going to start right here of, more than a year ago, we told Improbable in person that they were in violation of our Terms and Services, or EULA, or End User License Agreement. 6 months ago, we informed Improbable that about the violation in writing. Recent actions did not come as a surprise to Improbable. In fact, they've known about this for many months. Now, I want to pause for just 1 second and just kind of mention something about that timeline. When they started reaching out to Improbable about being in violation, well, that's about the exact same time that they were announcing that they were getting into the cloud networking component, okay? And they made their partnership with Google for providing basically the same kind of services that Spatial OS does. That's a very important thing to note, especially when you look at the timeline and when you're trying to decide who's telling the truth here. Just keep that in the back of your head, that this timeline corresponds with when Unity decided, hey, we're going to get into this whole cloud networking game. So anyways, so 2 weeks ago, we took the action of turning off Improbable's Unity editor license keys. That basically means that Improbable is no longer able to create Unity code. So their licensed versions of their products were all shut off. This is a unique case and not a situation we take lightly, but Improbable left us no choice. This was the only course of action to protect the integrity and value of our technology and Unity developers. That's some rich speak. So now we come to the people that are currently developing a game using Improbable's technology. Are they going to have to shut off the multiplayer? And that's what this next paragraph basically comes to say. We believe that even though Improbable is violating our EULA, game developers should never pay the price for that. We have been cleared with Improbable that games currently in production or games that are live are unaffected, and we would have expected them to be honest with their community about this information. Unfortunately, that information is misrepresented in Improbable's blog. We're disappointed that we've been unable to come to an agreement with Improbable and that their improper use continued until we took the action we did. Despite the fact we can assure developers that they will be able to continue development while we resolve our dispute. We are committed to ensuring that developers will receive support for any outstanding questions or issues we have. So basically, if you are currently using Spatial OS, you should be okay, and you can reach out to them directly and they will respond to any questions or problems you have. So existing games and under development games theoretically should not be impacted by this change. So then we come back to the update to the terms of service. Why did they update their terms of service? And you can actually go back. It was updated on December 5th, I think, and the older version is available online. And you can see that the terminology 100% is that they are targeting service platforms, that you just can't host in the cloud the Unity runtime. So that means you can't run the headless version in the cloud or Unity DLLs that you link to in your own service in the cloud without having negotiated a license with them. And that is new. So this whole lawyer speak thing is basically there was ambiguity, so we wanted to clarify and make things clearer. That's a crock, because if you go and read the terms of service, they have made things less clear. It is muddier now. Basically, what they have done is rewritten the rules to make it so that they have more control over what providers or partners are doing. And this is kind of where I don't know. I don't want to get into judgment calls here, but this really looks like one thing to me. I'll come back to that in a second, my own opinion at the end here. So let's just summarize what we've got here. So if you created your own server for your own product and you host it in a website, so if you host it on like AWS, for example, you're completely fine. So if you create a game and you've got a headless server for your game and you want to host that server on Amazon EC2, for example, you're totally fine with the updated EULA. Now, there's nothing to say they're not going to update the EULA in the future and screw you out of that opportunity. But as of right now, as long as you are not a middleware provider like Spatial OS is here, or Amazon, or the various other people that create direct integration or value add products on top of Unity, this shouldn't impact you. But for everybody else, what you're seeing here is if a third-party service wants to run the Unity runtime in the cloud with their additional SDK, we consider this a platform. So if you create something that builds on Unity's code that does run in the cloud, you are now in violation. You then need to be an approved Unity platform partner. These partnerships enable broad and robust platform support so developers can be successful. We enter into these partnerships all the time. This kind of partnership is what we have continuously worked towards with Improbable. So there is it in a nutshell. That last paragraph explains everything that happened. Basically, Unity updated their terms of service so that what Improbable was doing with Spatial OS is no longer okay without a direct agreement. They negotiated an agreement and they could not come to one. What this sounds like to me, my opinion from having seen both sides now, is what happened is Unity decided they wanted to get into cloud networking. About a year, 6 months to a year ago, seems to be about the timeline that we dealt with, they made a partnership, exclusive deal with Google to provide online multiplayer. And I've got stories linked to that in the past. That is very much a thing and on the public record. Right around that time, they started cracking down, apparently, or started negotiating with their existing, now, I guess you could call them competitors. So this is a space that Unity decided, hey, we want to get into this space. We want to provide cloud networking, and we are going to provide, platform as a service. I'm going to basically start running Unity in the server instances that you can then run your game on top of. So Unity decides, hey, we're going to move into this space, and rewrites their terms of service and kind of kicks Improbable in butt. That's what it seems like to me. This does seem like a dick move. Kinda. Now, again, we are not party to the negotiations that went on behind the scenes, but this, to go back to what Tim Sweeney said in his earlier thing, and this is very, very, very very important thing. So if, for example, a year ago, it sounds like Improbable and Spatial OS were completely in compliance. So Unity rewrote the rules of how these services can work. And then Improbable got into negotiations, basically said, oh, so the thing that we've spent years working on is no longer in compliance because you now want to get into this space? That sucks. And you know what? From a business perspective, I guess it's like pay or go away was kind of the end result here. And I guess Spatial decided to not go on the pay route. Well, if you look at the exact same thing, because Spatial OS does run on Unreal Engine, what Tim Sweeney says here is we specifically make the the Unreal Engine for EULA apply perpetually, so that when you obtain a version under a given EULA, you can stay on that version and operate under that EULA forever. So basically, you might be frozen in time, so when Unreal Engine 4.3 or 4.4 or whatever comes out in the future, you may not still be compatible, but they can't rewrite the rules and screw you. Like, that seems to be what just happened here. So we've got both sides, and I'm sure there's going to be another round of discussion back and forth. And I'm not gonna cover this one any further until there's actual resolution, because now we're gonna get into a nasty battle of he said, she said, back and forth. Unless something like definitively comes out, I'm kind of done with this story unless it goes to court or something further comes along. But what the end result seems to be, Unity is cracking down on service providers from being able to provide networking services for Unity because they wanted to move into that space. And if you are looking at kind of being partnering with Unity, I think I would use this one as a bit of a warning call. It also shows that when they want to strategically move into a certain space, they are totally willing to do it with their EOLA in terms of service. Now, again, we don't know what that year of negotiation behind the scenes look like, but to just kill someone's product off like this because you wanted it in that segment, that does not sit well with me. And then, as you can see here, Tim Sweeney, Unreal Engine, they have created a situation where this literally can't happen. And the open source community, again, they can say this could never happen to you in our ecosystem because, well, it's open source. So no matter how you look at it, even with this explanation, Unity is getting a black eye PR-wise from this. So that there is more of an argument of why would you work with this closed product when they can just license you out of the game if they change their mind in the future. And that's essentially what they seem to be doing here. So I don't know. Am I reading this wrong? Is my perspective on this different than yours? Or does this seem like kind of a dick move? Also, let me know. The cool thing is, I suppose I should say, if you are developing a game, you are not currently screwed. So that's nice. All the people that are currently working with Spatial OS, it looks like you should be okay going forward. Now, I don't know if that was a revision that happened literally today. Otherwise, it's very, if they actually told Improbable in the past that developers could, continue to publish their games, and then Improbable did not make that information public to their developers, that's a dick move by Improbable's side of things. Now, that one really comes down to who do you trust in that scenario? Because one of two things just happened. A whole bunch of game developers just got scared, either by misinformation from one party or a rewriting of history by the other, and neither really sits well with me. This is not a scenario where anybody won, well, other than Unreal Engine and open source community, I guess, or Zenko, or basically anyone that isn't Unity. So yeah, this is not great news on the whole if you're a Unity ecosystem partner, I suppose we could put it that way. So give me your opinion down below. Again, we still don't have 100% of the facts. We can only extrapolate from what we've heard from one side and the other. But now that we've heard from both sides, you can draw a pretty good picture with probably some seriously good accuracy of what is happening here. And I think that's pretty much what's happening here. Now, if you got a different opinion on that, please do let me know. Comments down below, and I will talk to you all later. Goodbye.